It's one of the most important threats facing our country today, cybersecurity. And it's important, I think, that we take a good look at this situation and learn from it. As everyone in this hearing knows, we are in the midst of arguably the most devastating espionage campaign ever waged against our nation. With each passing day, we learn more about the tactics, techniques, procedures, and unprecedented sophistication surrounding this campaign. While a number of details remain elusive, the overall picture is slowly coming together. And much of this incremental clarity is due to what we have learned from our private sector partners. So I appreciate their steady engagement in the whole of society response. I also recognize that we need more of this private sector sharing. I hope we can spend our time during this hearing evaluating the best paths forward. How can the cybersecurity community do more than just bounce back, but also bounce forward from these events? From my vantage point, we know enough to identify initial lanes of policy responses that fall into 5 categories. First, we need to seriously rethink our fragmented approach to .gov security by centralizing authority with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, known as CISA, wherever possible. While CISA's federal hunt authority from the 2021 NDAA is a welcome step in the right direction, CISA still does not have the proper authorities, resources, or holistic visibility into the federal networks enterprise to effectively defend and nimbly respond to attacks. Second, we need to better understand the nature and extent of third-party cyber risks. With no respect at all to our witness, Mr. Ramakrishna, relatively few people had even heard of SolarWinds in early December 2020. Yet its products are leveraged by most of the Fortune 500, with a relationship between vendor and customer that inherently enables a high degree of administrative privilege on the host network. In this interconnected web of hardware, software, and services that underpin our way of life, where are there concentrated sources of risk that could result in cascading or systemic impact if we assume there's a breach? We need to better illuminate answers to these questions. Third, once we identify the potentially concentrated sources of cyber risk, we need to ensure that vendor certification processes actually reduce that risk, not create perfunctory compliance exercises. There are a number of vendor certification or risk judgment regimes in various stages of operationalization right now across the federal government, with DoD's Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, or CMMC, and the Federal Acquisition Security Council, or FASC, garnering the most headlines. Let's work together to ensure these regimes accomplish our common goal of actually reducing the risk. Fourth, we need to drive better software assurance and development lifecycle practices across the entire ecosystem. Whether software flaws are deliberate or not, the software supply chain represents an attack vector that, if exploited, leaves the potential for a digital pandemic of sorts, where the impact of one bad line of code can be felt across the entire country. Lastly, we must impose real costs on cyber adversaries like Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. While there's no silver bullet, deterrence still matters. Naming and shaming, indictments, sanctions, offensive measures where appropriate, these should all be tools in our toolkit and be tools that we utilize. From the sophisticated nation-state-led incident to the more routine, such as ransomware, the cost-benefit analysis of cyber aggression still favors adversaries far too often. In short, they're winning the modern-day arms race, and we need to step up. I welcome the recent announcement by the administration to begin to hold Russia accountable through sanctions. I hope those sanctions are real, I hope they're firm, and I hope they're severe. I imagine we'll hear a constructive dialogue today about breach notification and incident reporting. An undeniable gap in our country's cybersecurity posture is the fact that there is not a consistent, overarching incentive for industry to disclose a breach. As a result, our federal agencies are often operating in the dark instead of having access to the critical aggregate data regarding the tactics, techniques, and procedures of bad actors. As we move forward, we must consider approaches to close this gap. Whether that should be partnership-based or compulsory or hybrid is yet to be seen, and I welcome robust private sector feedback on this issue. These are all necessary and worthy policy conversations for our homeland security, but we must also not lose sight of the immediate needs to put necessary resources towards the federal .gov SolarWinds response. I feel strongly that any executive branch actions related to SolarWinds must build upon and bolster CISA's mission as a lead federal civilian cybersecurity agency, as I recently stated in the letter to President Biden. I again want to thank our witnesses for testifying today. I look forward to hearing from you all on an issue of great bipartisan interest for the nation. I yield back.